Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take those intriguing sources you send us and really dig in to find the most valuable insights.
That's right. And today we've got a fascinating mix exploring human interaction, how we create content, societal dynamics. It's quite a stack.
It really is. We're pulling from conversations, observations, some deeply personal reflections, and our mission really is to look at that tricky balance,
Between the polished message and, well, the raw authenticity.
Exactly, in our lives, in the wider world. So get ready for maybe some surprising connections, some aha moments.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting with a dilemma that I think many of you listening will probably recognize, especially if you've tried to share an important message.
That question of how you prioritize slick delivery versus the maybe messy but powerful reality of the story.
Precisely. And we found this fantastic real-world example from the Watchmen Privacy podcast that just nails this tension. So picture this.
Yeah.
You've got the podcast host, Gabriel Custodiat. Let's call him the gatekeeper. His main concern, quite naturally, is his audience's experience. He wants clear audio, wants it easy to understand.
Standard stuff for podcaster, yeah.
But then he has this incredible storyteller lined up, Alberto, a hacker apparently, with a really unique, important message.
Sounds great. So what's the catch?
Well, the catch, the big but, was that Alberto had a very, very thick accent.
Ah.
And Gabriel saw this as a huge challenge to his production standards.
Okay, I see. And that's fascinating, isn't it? That immediate tension.
It is.
You've got the need for this, well, polished product clashing right up against the raw power of the authentic message itself.
Right.
And it's not just about technical quality, is it? It's about the perceived accessibility of the messenger. How easy is it for the audience?
And the way it was handled, honestly, it was a masterclass in grace. Gabriel went straight to Alberto, messaged him directly.
Oh, okay.
He used total upfront honesty, just explained his concern, for his audience.
That takes guts, but it's respectful.
And Alberto's response, immediate, totally disarming. He just said, no offense, bro, everything is cool, just let me know if you decide to use it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. The source material pointed out there was absolutely zero ego there.
Yeah.
Just a respect for Gabriel's role.
That's incredible. And that exchange, that honesty, it allowed for what we could call the pivot. Okay?
Exactly. The pivot.
Gabriel had to reevaluate. He put the sheer power of Alberto's story, the message, up against his worries about the accent.
And he chose to publish. He prioritized the authentic message.
Which teaches us something really valuable, I think. That true authenticity, it can sometimes just break through almost anything. And maybe a powerful message can, and maybe even should, ask the audience to lean in, to do a little bit of work.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for you listening, whether you're creating something or just, trying to get your point across?
Well, it suggests that sometimes the most valuable stuff, the really memorable content, it comes from voices that aren't perfectly polished.
Yeah. And that honest communication about it all is the foundation for making it work.
Absolutely. Transparency is key.
Okay, so from the craft of content creation, let's shift gears. Let's talk about the wild world of online interactions.
Oh, boy. Yeah, things can get messy there.
They really can. Our sources dive into these often chaotic dynamics. We're talking challenging behaviors, but also the psychological impact these places have on us.
It's a different kind of raw reality playing out.
Definitely. One person in our sources, they observed this phenomenon where in these spaces, guys seem to agree that people are mean, they're aggressive.
A general observation.
But in particular with women. And they also noted, pretty bleakly, that you cannot go and find a place where you can have a nice conversation.
That paints a pretty stark picture.
Yeah.
And it raises a big question, doesn't it? Why? Why do these environments so often foster that kind of aggression, especially towards women?
Yeah.
It really speaks to a breakdown in, constructive dialogue. You end up with environments where maybe one strong, overpowering voice can just dominate.
And we saw a specific, pretty disturbing incident detailed. A participant, we'll call her Belma. She was repeatedly targeted. Verbal abuse in an online space.
What kind of abuse?
Called awful, derogatory names like whore and dirty.
Yeah.
Really vile stuff.
That's awful.
And another participant who admitted they were emotionally drained, sleep-deprived at the time. They really struggled to intervene effectively. And they later apologized for not doing more.
See, that interaction is so crucial because it hits several points at once.
Yeah.
One, the very real personal toll of online abuse. Two, just how complex it is to intervene in these live, often unmoderated spaces.
It's happening fast.
Exactly. And three, this idea someone articulated about insults versus abuse. They said they could tolerate insults maybe, but drew a hard line at abuse.
Right. Do not tolerate abuse, especially of vulnerable individuals.
It underscores the psychological weight these interactions carry. It's not just words, it can be genuinely harmful.
And the conversation didn't stop there. It also touched on concerns about suspicious silent participants in these online spaces.
Lurkers, or something more.
Potentially more. Worries about malicious activity like IP attacks via VoIP connections, trying to exploit voice chat tech.
Okay, so real-world security anxieties bleeding over from the digital interactions.
Absolutely. Illustrates the anxieties that stem directly from being online.
And that concern about hidden threats, it taps into a broader dilemma, I think. This question of, is ignorance bliss when it comes to deep cyber threats?
Like, is it better not to know?
Or is knowing more essential even if it brings this, I don't know, sense of despair about the state of the world? It's this constant cat and mouse game.
And now with AI involved.
Exactly. AI just adds whole new layers of complexity and potential deception. The raw reality is our online lives aren't just social anymore.
Yeah, it feels like a battleground sometimes.
For our data, our privacy, it demands a different kind of vigilance.
Okay, so from that intensity online, let's move even deeper into the human mind itself.
Right. How we adapt, how we respond to significant life events.
And crucially, how these very individual responses connect up to these bigger societal issues.
The micro and the macro.
We found this really fascinating list. It detailed 10 hidden habits after trauma, but the source actually framed it as post-traumatic growth.
Okay, interesting angle. Growth from trauma.
Yeah. So, for example, people who've experienced trauma can become fiercely protective of the vulnerable. It's described as almost a neurological rewiring, like their pain becomes a superpower for protecting others.
That's powerful. What else?
They might also find joy in the tiniest things. The source called it a hedonic recalibration.
Hedonic recalibration, meaning their baseline for joy shifts.
Exactly. Their joy threshold changes, so small positive things become deeply meaningful.
What's really profound there is how the brain literally seems to rewire itself. These aren't just feelings, they lead to observable behaviors. They're adaptive.
Deeply adaptive.
Like reading the room, being masters of reading the room. That's another example given, right?
Yes, that was on the list.
And the explanation was it's hypervigilance developed when their survival depended on predicting emotional weather patterns.
Wow. Survival mechanism turned skill.
Precisely. These aren't just quirks, they're deep responses. They speak to our resilience, the raw power of the mind to survive and even find new strengths, new sensitivities.
And these deep personal adaptations, they don't just stay personal, do they? They give us clues about how we collectively respond when society faces shocks or deep anxieties.
That connection is key.
And few topics bring those anxieties to the surface, like the complex UK asylum seeker debate. Our sources describe the government as being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
It's certainly contentious. What were the specifics?
Well, it involves court rulings, concerns about judicial impartiality, the role of the ECR, the European Convention on Human Rights.
Right, the legal framework.
And then the very real-world consequence of a housing crisis, with reports of people being evicted to make space for migrants.
Okay, so a collision of legal, political, and social issues.
Definitely. And we saw multiple viewpoints presented. One perspective was the perception that asylum seekers hold more importance than British people.
A feeling of being overlooked by some.
Yeah. And also the idea that immigrants are choosing England specifically because they think they will get a hotel and 3 meals a day.
Okay. Those are some of the narratives circulating. And this is such a powerful example of how individual experiences, or perhaps fears, of displacement, whether from personal trauma or societal change, can play out on a huge scale.
How so?
Well, the observation in the source that the right wing gets a hold is because of people's displacement. Now, that's presented as an insight, not an endorsement, remember?
Right, just reporting the analysis.
It suggests that when people feel displaced economically or culturally, that innate hypervigilance, that protective instinct we talked about from trauma.
It gets amplified.
It can be. Anxieties about safety, resources, identity, they're profound. And they can become fertile ground for political narratives that tap into those raw, often unaddressed fears.
So it's this complex mix of real national challenges and deep-seated human needs for security.
Exactly. The personal and the political become deeply intertwined.
And building on these sort of global challenges and systemic issues, the conversation in our sources even ventured into a really bold proposal
Oh.
called limitarianism.
Limitarianism. Okay, what's the core idea?
Essentially limiting individual wealth.
Yeah.
The example given was maybe $10 million.
Right.
And also abolishing inheritance entirely.
Whoa. Okay, that is bold. And the goal?
To tackle the staggering inequality, the idea that the 1% owning 80% of a country's wealth, it's framed as needing a kind of revolution to rebalance economic equity globally.
Right. So limitarianism, if we connect it back, it's proposed as a radical answer to what's perceived as a raw economic injustice.
Yeah, it's systemic unfairness.
It fundamentally challenges the idea of an unlimited wealth accumulation. It suggests, maybe, that extreme wealth itself creates societal problems that harm overall well-being.
It definitely sparks a debate.
It does, and it comes from that deep human desire for fairness, for equity, a desire that really flares up when disparities become too stark, too visible. It might be just a concept now, but it shows how tightly linked our personal well-being, our social interactions, and our global systems really are.
Yeah, and human behavior, our drives, our sense of justice is always right there at the core.
Always.
So today, we've really journeyed through this complex tapestry, haven't we? From deciding about raw authenticity in, say, a podcast, through the tough dynamics of online spaces, the hidden resilience that can come from trauma,
That post-traumatic growth idea.
and then landing on these big, ambitious ideas for reshaping global structures.
It's quite the range.
It really is. And what seems clear, I think, is that whether we're talking personal communication or global policy, the human element is always the most powerful factor.
Our intentions, how we see things, our fears.
Our ability to connect or not connect, it's all crucial. So as you reflect on this deep dive, here's something to maybe mull over. In a world that's constantly pushing for perfection, urging us to present our most polished selves.
The pressure is real.
And at the same time, we're grappling with these huge global issues that expose our rawest anxieties.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Between that polished front and bravely sharing your authentic, maybe imperfect truth.
Yeah. What might actually shift, for you or for all of us, if we lean just a little more into that raw reality? If we trusted its power to connect, maybe provoke some genuine understanding.
That's a powerful thought to end on.